It's a warm, damp night in the city, and they're everywhere. Why are so many people in Galway wandering around wearing red fezzes? Have they taken over from pink furry handcuffs for stags and hens? Nope. Madness are at the big top for Galway International Arts Festival GIAF, and the merchandise tent must have done well. This festival is many things to a wide range of people, and these are some of them. There are many prisms through which you can view GIAF, now in its mature phase, with 41 years under its belt, the past 13 under artistic director Paul Fahey. You could gauge GIAF through the company it keeps, by way of its expanding partnerships and collaborations to create new work, which this year included a glorious burst of poetic intensity in Stanley Townsend's magnificent grief and rage-laden performance in Paul Muldoon's Incantata, produced with Jen Coppinger, David Mack's earth-shifting installation Rock and Roll, associating with Irish National Opera on Orfeo ed Eurydice, creating Enda Walsh's Office 33A. Itania El Khoury's production Garden Speak explores what lies beneath in Syria, where bodies of activists and protesters were buried in private gardens, ad hoc, early in the uprising. The latter, an evocative room for a story imbued with sense of place, was one of a number of immersive experiences, another prism, a thread defining this festival, and broadening its strong theatre offering. Stories being what makes the world go round, finding new ways to tell them engagingly is a thrill. If a physical place could drown in a multitude of experiences, NUIG's theatre spaces were holding their breath to go under in a good way, with a hive of stories in 3 distinct immersive shows. In Garden Speak, the audience literally gets down and dirty. Don't wear your best white jumpsuit in a recreated graveyard, for an individualized experience. Tanya El Khoury's production explores what lies beneath in Syria, where bodies of activists and protesters were buried in private gardens, ad hoc, early in the uprising. 10 people at a time don plastic masks and enter a small, dark cemetery to find a particular gravestone. In silence you dig, then lie in the dirt to hear the deceased's story, pressing your ear deep into the soil. My story was that of Ahmed, a smart 23-year-old geography student who protested and whose dreams were wiped out by a sniper's bullet. Ahmed's friend dragged him to a garden where he buried him. The forgotten, unmarked burials of some of those lost cruelly and pointlessly in war are recalled in this moving and intimate show. As you lie in the earth, listening to a person from beyond the grave, this combination of oral history and installation makes real the stories behind headlines. The experience is stark, almost spiritual. It is dark and uncomfortable, in all senses, and rightly so. Flight, another immersive story for our times, humanizes migration. The stunning narrative of 2 boys fleeing Afghanistan to make their way to London, and what happens along the way, is also a feat of technical virtuosity. The telling of this affecting tale is complex. Every minute one audience member leaves as another joins, so 25 people are always sitting in small booths around a revolving carousel of windows where miniature vignettes light up to tell the story separately to those each viewing a different scene, aligned with the audio storyline on headphones. The message and the medium are spellbinding. The festival's immersions were not confined to that trio at NUIG, the inflatable world of interlocking chambers of Miracoco Luminarium, the Alan Parkinson Architects of Air installation where thousands of people lost themselves in Air Square, was another, and Flaming Lips at the Big Top was an enveloping spectacle. They started by releasing massive balloons into the crowd while covering Space Oddity and Azorb, which then surfed the crowd. Australia also figured across the festival, particularly in physical performance, with 2 top Aussie contemporary circus troupes. Newish Kids on the Block, Gravity, Other Myths, Backbone involved strength and people towers and a sense of danger, while the longer established Circa returned to the festival with Humans, Yar and Lifshit's strenuously choreographed distillation of what a person is. The acrobats walk zombie-like, then spring into action, a freeze in virtuoso tableaus. Twosomes and threesomes of threading bodies weave through a leap over each other in tangles, others play with a trapeze. A female solo with the most expressive legs I have ever seen, is like a doll attempting to stand. The performers are muscular but also appear neat, light, smooth, then they land, thunk, on the floor and it almost hurts to watch. The Aspirations of Day's Morrow, adapted from a short story by Australian writer Patrick White, is a triumph of stagecraft, turning the black box into a vast plane. Down at the Rasheen Do, 4 Australian women comprise the snappily named indie band All Our Exes live in Texas. It's a lie, they confess, who delight the crowd with gorgeous harmonies and enormous charm despite the darkness of some material. Songs about rejection they introduce I'm Going to Cut My Heart Out, with a wry aside, we also do weddings, domestic violence, falling apart. They are in tune with another dominant lens through which we can view the festival, women's strength and experience. It is their in-garden speak, in the intellectually honest wit. New writers at Drew with Mongoose's melodic, harmonic rock. One song was described as if Joni Mitchell had written Bohemian Rhapsody. Also at Rasheen Do, a woman's life also figures in a big Australian theatre show, The Aspirations of Days Morrow, set in a small community. Adapted from a short story by acclaimed Nobel-winning Australian writer Patrick White, it is set on both sides of the tracks in the run-up to the funeral of the eponymous free and sensuous spirit who ised her neighbours but was a redemptive life force. Its stagecraft is a triumph of transformation, turning the functional black box into a vast plain, with real grass over the entire auditorium, the audience in concentric circles around a small mound, a lighting rig evoking unrelenting sun, and an enormous low-hung moon, a sky above it all. 4 actors skillfully play an occasionally confusing range of characters, sometimes across gender, through shifting timescales. The action threads through the aisles and within and around the audience, which incorporates the Zephyr String Quartet in its midst. Strong theatre offerings at the festival include David Horan Above and Iseult Golden's class set during a parent-teacher meeting, which takes unexpected turns. So, knockout staging and production. And yet, not having read the reputedly layered story, most of us judge this purely on the players presented. There is a nagging feeling it would have more impact for those familiar with the original, but as a stage production it must surely stand on its own merits. There are glorious turns of phrase in a script about love, death, redemption and compassion, involving large chunks of narration and description, and though often engaging, there's more telling than showing going on. The characters are colourful and the language gorgeous, but the storyline seems almost slight for the epic setting. Women's rights are just one of the manifestations of protest in Kenny Gallery's wide-ranging and provocative art of protest, incorporating social commentary and campaigning, political satire and street art, curated by artist Dean Kelly. The work ranges from Jim Fitzpatrick's Che to Shane Burke-Harris Donald Trump to Christopher Bannerman's Margaret Thatcher Wicked Witch of the West, to Dolores Lyne's Ironing for Ireland, a repeal banner draped over an ironing board in protest preparation with ironic tea towel prints also for sale. Strong straight theatre offerings include excellent new plays at Druid and Class, Iseult Golden and David Horan's belting three-hander set during a parent-teacher meeting, which takes unexpected turns. Flashing between the meeting and children in the classroom, the narrative encompasses educational philosophy, socio-economic implications and personal relationships in a tense, nuanced, entertaining and confident drama. Paul Fahey's 13th programme in Galway is its biggest yet, more productions, more attendances, pushing ever forward with an eclectic mix, from the first thought talks to abstractions at Gallery 126 to RT concert orchestra prompts followed by zipping electronic sets from Caribou in the Big Top. The festival has steadily increased its own original productions and this year saw innovations including the huge People Build Bridge project, a circus hub in MUIG and the immediately popular Festival Garden. Figures just crunched indicate GIAF this year broke 250,000 attendees for the first time, with 252,611 attendances at events up from 210,000 last year. In addition, 145,000 attended the first year of the Festival Garden on Eyre Square. On the mid-festival Saturday a queue formed before the festival gallery opened, rare enough for visual art, and that day alone 5,918 people visited the gallery, proving something about finding the right hook to grab public imagination. So, as Galway gets into gear for this week's races, and further down the line for a reign as capital of culture, it bids farewell to 2018's Arts Festival. Look at it now as it departs, a multidisciplinary arts festival in maturity, confident, accomplished, with a wide appeal, scholarly curated straddling popular and more esoteric work, well able for production challenges. Nice one, well done, GIAF 2018. Technical days, 9,032 lighting cues in one show. The production manager handed GIAF director Paul Fahey a potato in Hewis pub in Galway at the weekend. It was the last potato as they struck the set from a regularly increasing mound of them in the corner of a busy and tech-heavy set for Incantata, one of the prides of this year's festival. That show was technically impressive, and one of the striking features of GIAF 18 is its skill in handling production challenges. In a city deficient in venues for performance or display, an accomplished team handled it all. Daily set switches for 2 new productions in Rep. Orfeo and Incantata at the Town Hall. The bamboozling demands of the glorious flight. There are 9,032 lighting cues in the show, transforming disused space into a large airy gallery for several exhibitions, including David Mack's earth excavating installation, which took a month to install, and the impressive set for days, which involved living grass over the entire floor. Meantime, yesterday GIAF and NUI Galway announced a new multi-year partnership to provide cultural and creative opportunities for students. On foot of Galway as European Capital of Culture 2020 and the government's Creative Ireland, the festival will work with the university on education initiatives to complement NUIG's culture-related courses, including its new BA in Music. Ties will strengthen for GIAF's First Thought Talks, and the university will support new work by Irish artists to premiere in Galway and tour. Festival Chief Executive John Crumlish described it as a natural fit for the festival, while NUIG President Kieran O'Hogarty said, "We see our cultural hinterland is central to our mission and looked forward to supporting the next generation of creative artists, producers and cultural entrepreneurs."